Good morning, everyone. If I could ask you to have a seat so that we may stay on track and get started this morning. Thanks very much. Welcome to DC Summit 2019. My name's Maria Ellis. I am here from Toronto. I manage a partner team in Canada, and here to do some of our introductions today. Did anyone catch the game last night? Devastating loss for me and my people, but hopefully we still have an opportunity there. Anyway, just a couple of logistics before we get started this morning. Just wanted to highlight fire exits at the very back of the room. Bathrooms are outside on your left. This session runs from 9 to 9:50, and then we have a short 10-minute break where you can head off to your next session. And just note that lunch begins at 12:45 downstairs in halls A and B. And if I could just ask you to have a quick look at your cell phones just to make sure that the volume is down, please, so that we don't have any interruptions throughout the session. And the last thing, just to keep as a reminder, is we're going to ask you to fill out the surveys at the end of the end of any of your sessions today, just so that we can improve and make Summit better. Okay, so I will introduce to you from Belleville, Washington today, Smartsheet. The session you are in today is called Smartsheet, which is the trusted work execution platform for government. We have with us today Trey Vance, who is a solution architect with AWS from Raleigh. I also have Amy Frampton with us from Smartsheet. She's the VP of Product Marketing. And Ignacio Martinez, who is our VP Security, Risk, and Compliance from Smartsheet. Thanks.
Thank you, Maria. Hello, everyone. Let me adjust this mic. Here we go. All right, excellent. So, as mentioned, and that was a very good pronunciation of my name, by the way. So I'm going to go with that from now on. I'm Trey Vance. I am a solutions architect in public sector with AWS. And I actually work on a team that worked with the Smartsheet team as they started their journey to FedRAMP last year, not even a year ago. But really glad to be here with them today and to kind of take you through that. So, as was mentioned, this is the Smartsheet. It's their presentation, but I'd like to do this forward to help you understand the journey that they went through, because it's not unlike some of the journeys that you may go through as well. So, the typical FedRAMP journey, right? It's this grandiose thing with mist and clouds and a summit, right? So I had to combine a couple things here. I had to combine my love of dad jokes with cloud and also with the theme of this event, right? So what is the actual FedRAMP journey, right? Like, what does FedRAMP even mean, right? So the FedRAMP journey begins typically with an organization that wants to be entrusted with government data. The federal government has a mandate now to use cloud first, right? And cloud first in that definition means that they want to move to something that is secure and reliable, because you are literally, you have the people's data, and you also have those agencies' data. So it's a very important work, and the federal agencies want to understand the benefits, and they want to take the benefits of being in the cloud, being able to scale on demand, to be able to pay for what they use, and simply have the ability to change the mission as they see fit. So the typical FedRAMP journey is not unlike climbing a mountain. What does that journey actually look like, right? This is the more detailed version of the journey. And that journey at a high level is to document the system security plan. It is to implement security controls based on the NIST 853 framework, and it is to have what you've built then assessed, and after that assessment, you go through the process of remediation and developing the new initiatives that you're going to have in the near future. And then from that point, you proceed into the provisional authority to operate, right? So, and from that point, then you've gotten into continuous monitoring, right? So you've set up a program for continuous monitoring, and then you, from that point, are being evaluated on a regular basis, right? So this is a process that customers who are going through FedRAMP, they do. What you're seeing here is the average times in two different ways. There's actually two different ways that you can get an ATO. You can get an ATO through an agency, or you can go through the Joint Authorization Board, or the JAB. And Smartsheet actually went through the JAB, which is the more stringent process, right? So they really dug in deep to make sure that they had a trusted work platform. So why am I here? Why is the AWS guy talking at this point? It's because we actually worked with the Smartsheet team in a program that we called ATO on AWS. And what does that mean? Well, the ATO on AWS program is a partner-driven solution where we accelerate independent software vendors' process for going through FedRAMP. So we have a team of advisors, we have partner technologies that can help accelerate that journey. And that's partner technologies that are in source control and collaboration, configuration management, all of the areas behind this where you can actually implement the technology, whether that's infrastructure or governance as code, or you can actually document the things that were done inside of a technology environment. So the cloud service offering goes through this process with our partners and with us, and the end result is an accelerated path. So not to steal any of Ignacio's thunder here, but the Smartsheet team was able to stand up their FedRAMP-ready environment within a matter of months, and they were actually able to have that environment assessed in a very short period of time. So they were able to go through that process, not in the 18 to 24 months, which is typical, but they've done this inside of a year. So kind of breaking it down, the way we worked with the Smartsheet team, we were able to give them some pre-built artifacts that were created by our partners. And so we worked with AWS consulting partners and technology partners in a lot of different ways to be able to both instantiate, meaning we were able to build the environment, but we were also able to configure it for Smartsheet. So that really accelerated the journey. It took the mystery out of this process, which sometimes this process is intimidating, but the thing we have to remember is it's the people's data, right? So it is the government agencies that are entrusting these organizations with their data, and we want to make sure that the processes that we follow are things that are well documented, they have a lot of visibility to them, and they create and build trust. So again, these are in the ATO on AWS program. We have multiple frameworks that we're working with our partners to build. And in this particular case, Smartsheet went through the FedRAMP moderate ATO process, and they did their process in far less time than this. But there are other types of federal workloads and other kinds of federal requirements that we're building solutions for as well. So our program was announced back at reInvent of 2018, which, doing math in public, that's like 8 months ago. But actually here, later today, you're going to find out some more information about that program and how, if it fits your needs, you can become involved with it as well. So the end goal here is that we're trying to reduce the effort, demystify this process, give solutions that are based on the NIST 853 framework, and build that end-to-end automation capability that's so important in getting these things done quickly. So The core tenets, the things that are guiding us in this program is working with partners, both technology partners in the tools that you may have on-premise today, to extend those to be able to help you accelerate that journey into the cloud. So the goal, verifiable, repeatable, secure and reliable infrastructure, and the outcomes, as you'll hear from the Smartsheet team, a greatly accelerated process to FedRAMP. So I'm going to turn this over now to Amy, and she's going to come up and she's going to tell you about this from the customer perspective. Thank you.
Thanks, Trey. I am really excited to be here today and really excited to be a part of the AWS Public Sector Summit. As I was prepping to come to the summit, I was talking to one of our customers who's in the public sector, and I said, I'm really excited about public sector, and I'm really excited about FedRAMP and Smartsheet, and this is so great. And I used to be a federal employee, and so I really believe in public service and the public sector, and this is just something that's really, really exciting for me personally as well as professionally. And this customer said to me, who's at an agency I will not name at this moment, but she said, oh, what'd you do, for the federal government? And I said, well, I worked for the Congress. And she said, that's not exactly public service. So I thought, okay, I'll check myself. I won't say that. But I do have a love for this town and for the work that is done here in surroundings. So I'm very excited to be here today. So what I want to talk to you just a little bit about is Smartsheet more generally and what our purpose is and why we do what we do. And so that you have that framework. And then Ignacio is going to come up and talk to you about our process in getting to FedRAMP and the offering that we have now in the FedRAMP process. So first I want to talk to you about our purpose at Smartsheet. So our purpose at Smartsheet is to empower everyone to improve how they work. And the reason that we picked this is that we believe that breaking down silos and having everyone have the right tools in their hands makes work better, makes missions more supportable, and using Smartsheet allows everyone every day to get better and to achieve more. So it's really important to us at our core in terms of putting those tools in everyone's hands across knowledge workers, in IT, and at the executive level, all across your organizations. So a little bit about Smartsheet. We were founded in 2005. We have 1,200 employees. We're just almost at 1,300. And customers in 190 countries. More than 15,000 projects and processes are launched every day in Smartsheet. And we're growing fast. When I started about a year ago, we had not quite 1,000 employees. We're at almost 1,300 today. We IPO'd last year on the stock exchange and have continued to grow very, very quickly. So here's some stats about Smartsheet, but I think the ones that matter most is we have over 75,000 domain-based customers. So people all around the world are using Smartsheet at very high levels. 75% plus of the Fortune 500 are using Smartsheet. And we appreciate their participation with us and their faith in us to run enterprise workloads on Smartsheet. And we have almost 4 million total users. So people are using Smartsheet, as I said, at very high numbers for very important work that they're doing. 2,000 documented work cases. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how work gets done and put that in a little bit more perspective. So this is how we see the world in terms of work. There's about 40% of folks' work that it can be done easily in a point solution. So that's in a CRM system or an IT ticketing system, a system specifically made for the process or project that you're doing. But there's 60% of all of our work, I would suggest everyone in this room, and growing, that is unstructured. Work that's traditionally been done in email and in documents and in spreadsheets. Who here has ever emailed a spreadsheet? Come on, admit it. I've totally done it too. Yeah. And so we're emailing spreadsheets back and forth, and we're saying, hey, can you follow up on this? And we need to remember to send this extra mail for all of that work that doesn't have a point solution. everything from procurement to event planning, contract management, budgeting. None of these systems, none of these projects and processes have structured systems, and they need to be flexible. So what Smartsheet offers is a flexible structure for that 60%, and I would say growing percent of all of our work that we're all working on every day. It allows us to have a system of record and have much higher ROI for the work that we're doing. So the conventional approach, we're emailing spreadsheets, we're emailing links, we're sending reminders, all of those sorts of things. The ROI there is really poor. We're all seeing that it takes all of that time. You get up, you send a reminder, you just send another reminder. Hey, there's a version control issue. Those things are frustrating no matter whether you're in the public sector or whether you're in the commercial sector. Current standards of work management allow for very low ROI in terms of how your time is spent on that 60% of work. But with Smartsheet, we actually have found that our customers get 482% ROI in the first 6 months because you're able to speed your work. You're able to get transparency, accountability, and collaboration all in one tool. And you're able to see that ROI very quickly because you're doing things all in the same tool. Everyone can see everything. You're automating your reminders, et cetera. So this is how we talk about Smartsheet, and then I'll introduce Ignacio a little bit to share a little bit more about Smartsheet Gov. So the most important part in my mind about Smartsheet and what we offer to all of you and to our customers at large is making collaboration work. We all have offices in different places, on different time zones, in different locations, in different departments, and silos are so easy to be established, and they're so hard to be broken down. And so collaboration and the speed at which you work as you're being collaborative is critically important to work together in terms of your accountability, your transparency, and again, moving at the speed that you all need to move. And then making better decisions faster. So we all know that we're being asked to work faster and faster every day. We're asked to be more transparent and accountable. With Smartsheet, you get real-time visibility into what really matters at your organization. And I would really recommend that you all go down to our booth and see our dashboard product. In our dashboard product, which you can build in minutes yourself, you get real-time access to all of the underlying data and sheets. And everyone in an organization, from top to bottom, can see all that information, status real-time. Make sure you take a look at those and at our booth. And then automating work processes. One of the worst parts of any job in my mind is reminding people. Hey, remember I need this. Hey, remember it's the first Monday of the week. We need to do this. Hey, it's the last Friday. Remember, we need to do this. It's the 31st of the month. All of that kind of stuff wastes so much time, and that ROI that I talked about it just crashes. So when you automate your work processes in Smartsheet, you can send reminders, notifications, and then people get those notifications. They can work right in the sheet. And they can do their work right there. You can automate that all, get all that work off of your plate, and go to town in terms of the real work you need to do and the innovation and solving for the missions of your organization. And then deploying with confidence. We are used by over 75% of the Fortune 500, but I would say in this audience, even more important, we're really excited to be part of the FedRAMP program. We did announce general availability yesterday, our government product, and we expect to have full authorization this month sometime. So we're really excited to provide for the federal government. We'll be providing to enterprises and to work with all of you to help you get from your ideas to impact fast. And with that, I recognize the gentleman from Bellevue. I'm in DC. I went back to my congressional roots. Ignacio, come on up.
Thank you, Amy. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Smartsheet Gov. And as Amy said, we've had our coming out party essentially yesterday, making it available to customers. We are at the very tail end of the FedRAMP process. And what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about how we decided to go through that process and the approach we took to get there. So everything that Amy talked about with Smartsheet, all those benefits, the things that make it attractive out there in the commercial enterprise world, we were getting demand from government agencies. So that Smartsheet product that's been around has been picked up by agencies, people buying it on credit cards and deploying workloads on it. And it would spread in an agency for a little bit until it was discovered by their data officer or their CISO, and then they would ask, hey, this is a cloud product, we're supposed to be using a FedRAMP product. And that would essentially stop the spread of it or limit the use cases that it could be used. But it did another thing. They would tell us we would really like Smartsheet to develop a FedRAMP product because we would really like to deploy this and spread these benefits across the organization. This was not only true for the federal government, but we have state and local entities, and then we've got the associated commercial entities that want a FedRAMP product because they work with government agencies. So we were at a point that we had to decide, how do we get Smartsheet into the FedRAMP world? When you do that, you have a couple choices. You can take your current product platform, whether it's on-premise data center or co-location, take that entire product through the FedRAMP authorization process, which for us was really not an option, and for most people it's not. So most people are looking at option number 2, and that is rebuild or build an instance of your product specifically to take through FedRAMP authorization, because that authorization is all about security. This is the government's data, this is the citizen data. So with FedRAMP, as Trey said, it's about your boundary, everything in there, meeting all the security standards, knowing where that data is flowing, where it's staying, how it's encrypted, et cetera, following that NIST standard. So we had to decide how we were going to do that because, as I said, we were starting to get a large number of governmental entities using Smartsheet and pushing us to go through. One of the things we had to decide, in the GSA, which runs a FedRAMP program, pushed us pretty hard. You've got demand here. You should look at seeking the broadest authorization possible. So Trey touched on the JAB, the Joint Advisory Board, which if you think about it in the FedRAMP world is kind of that central monitoring, where the Joint Advisory Board, which is made up of Department of Defense, Homeland Security, and the GSA, will evaluate you from a FedRAMP perspective and issue an authorization to operate, a provisional one. But that one can be used, and they do get used by agencies to write their own authorization to operate to deploy within them. It is the most stringent, as Trey said, and usually has a longer timeline, but we selected that because of the demand that we knew was waiting in the agency world for Smartsheet. So, as Trey said, we started that journey last July. We applied for the FedRAMP Connect program, which is the accelerated journey with JAB monitoring and authorization. We were notified July 30th that we were selected because of potential demand in the government space for that program. But that also comes with that timeline that Trey talked about. And that timeline that he talked about doesn't show you one thing. The start of that timeline means everything's built and you're ready to take that through authorization. We had to do something separately as well. We had to actually build that new instance of Smartsheet. We chose AWS GovCloud because it's already FedRAMP authorized, which really gave us a jump start so that we could very quickly build on top of that authorized platform and be able to demonstrate to the auditors and all the security reviews, taking that through FedRAMP authorization. So our journey began last, essentially August 1st, building that on AWS GovCloud, and then also engaging the correct auditors. We selected one that had done a lot of FedRAMP authorization, and going through the process of these reviews. So as you can see, the FedRAMP program, we achieved FedRAMP in process, which is essentially, you're primarily through your review in April of 2019, so well under 12 months. And we did select the JAB, the Joint Advisory Board provisional ATO, and we should be getting that this month because our feedback from them is that we've cleared all the hurdles and we are now waiting for them to go ahead and sign off on that provisional ATO, which that coincided, and that was a reason for our coming out party yesterday. We elected moderate, even though AWS GovCloud, the foundation where the data is stored, is FedRAMP high. We selected moderate to be able to attack and approach the largest swath of that demand in the federal space is really seeking that moderate. But being on AWS GovCloud, we've got the optionality to go high. Everything that we have in Smartsheet that's in use and loved by the commercial space and the enterprise customers, our goal is to get that into the FedRAMP Gov product as quickly as possible. It's not instantaneous because of the compliance requirements in getting all the new features that we release in the commercial world into the FedRAMP world, but we are doing that on a program as quickly as possible given the the FedRAMP requirements for review, sign off by the auditors to deploy those in the government space. And then you also have a few of the things that are unique to the federal space that are a little different than the enterprise world, which we've adopted and built into this version of Smartsheet that's available for Smartsheet Gov customers. So really, now that we've announced yesterday what Smartsheet Gov is going to do for our customers is really, we're talking about empowering those government professionals to begin deploying some of their workloads in the same way that our enterprise customers do. So Smartsheet, what they're finding is simple. We call it a no-code, low-code platform for collaborative work execution, and it really is. So our customers in the commercial world find that anyone who can become a quick Power Excel user or project user can very quickly spin up and become as proficient doing something in Smartsheet, but they have the ability to do a lot more. It's very easy to use, and the users at all level can quickly figure out and adopt and navigate the platform to achieve what they want to do for the work that they're tasked with doing. Amy touched a little bit on the transparency. It is a platform that is relatively new in the federal space, this collaborative work platform. So the fact that multiple people or all the people that you designate can see the work in this particular sheet or this environment or this workspace in the ways you want them to see it, can contribute to it the way you want, or you can solicit data and share data, is unique. And that's one of the benefits of a collaborative work platform like Smartsheet. In the commercial space, in the enterprise world, it's kind of an emerging space that is being defined, and we like to think that we're helping define that and a leader in that space. The flexibility that you see in Smartsheet is really advantageous, and we're finding it to be well adopted in the agency world as well. The ability to take this platform and tailor it to your workload and the types of tasks that you're doing is very attractive. Again, from a security standpoint, the FedRAMP requirements are this security evaluation from an independent auditor and a review by, in our case, the JAB, the Joint Advisory Board. But the piece that was on the chart that Trey didn't talk too much about is the continuous monitoring, which is FedRAMP, and FedRAMP is, just like other government entities and agencies, really loves acronyms. They call it CONMON. But that continuous monitoring is a complete assessment and scan of that FedRAMP environment with a submission of those results to the JAB every month. And you got to meet the requirements of security, patching, lack, remediation of vulnerabilities, et cetera. And that's a routine that is, very stringent in FedRAMP, especially with the JAB. And that is something we built with Smartsheet Gov and are able to provide those to the government, because those are the things that the agencies desire as well for the ATO. The other things about Smartsheet in the enterprise world that the government customers really like is real time. So visibility into your work, whether you are contributing at a lower level or visibility into the work across the organization at senior executive levels or any level that needs to see the progress of the work. You have the ability to provide dashboards, insights, status in a way that gives a view into the progress of the work like we haven't seen before. And then the implementation. This is something that Trey talked about cloud-first strategy. Implementation is quick and simple. Smartsheet Gov is built to integrate into an organization or an agency's environment. And again, it's a SaaS. So its entire platform is accessed via your browser. So there is no software to install. very little administration. It is, once an organization designates their administrative folks, it is a very quick and short process to get them up to speed to deploy it across an organization and manage it going forward. Amy touched a little bit, the breaking down silos across departments. Where we've seen this deployed, and now we'll see it with Smartsheet Gov, is it really allows people in different parts of the organization that used to have a cumbersome process of soliciting information from each other to make decisions or to produce a project can now happen seamlessly. So people that normally are unable to work on the same tasks, projects, environments, or data sets can now do so. And that's one of the features that is probably the most attractive about Smartsheet, is this ability to break down silos. So in the enterprise world, our customers talk about this let the team come together, and that team came from a lot of parts of the organization. We put the project together and we executed. You know, and the same can be said about our approach to FedRAMP. We went through it on a very quick basis, and we had the benefit of being able to manage large projects with teams within Smartsheet from across the organization, as well as outside partners like AWS and some of the other AWS partners they brought to bear, and be able to get this FedRAMP journey done on such a short timeline. All those people can work together, see things together, and really the focus of all parties is on the task at hand, and that was getting us through this FedRAMP authorization. You heard a little bit about the transparency, and you heard a little bit about dashboards. So what you'll see on this screenshot is one of the features that our customers love about Smartsheet, and we have in Smartsheet Gov. And that is the ability to roll up data, projects, things going on in terms of the workload in any part of the organization, and roll it up into an attractive dashboard that people can quickly get a sense for what the progress is. The beautiful thing about that is any one of these elements on this dashboard, any little widget, status bar, whatever it is, you have the ability to click down if you want to see all the data or what's producing those results. So anything that you're seeing at a summary level here, you can quickly drill down and get to the source data, what's driving that status, is it behind, is it ahead, and be able to go back and then see it at the dashboard level. You also have the ability to embed links so that you can quickly navigate people to resources and things that they need to get to quickly and see as part of their job, or as part of looking at the dashboard and then making a decision. If it's a place that they will need to navigate to make that decision, links and other workflows to then continue the work. So really in the government world, what we're finding our customers doing is really modernizing programs and processes. It's a tool set, it's a work platform that lets them do things in ways they haven't been able to do before. So, in the enterprise world, we find customers automating processes of all types. Amy talked about thousands of use cases. Everything from expense report submission to payables to you name it. Customers have found a way to automate this process. It's repetitive so that they're not having to invest that time every time. It's also scalable. So if you figure out how to do it one time and you're going to have to do it again, you can make this very quick, easy, and it can scale to repeat it at a rapid pace across a lot of people or across a lot of units of an organization. So our government customers are doing the same thing, and we see some really amazing use cases in a diversity of agencies that have been using Smartsheet and are now looking to deploy it to do everything from facilities management to contract management. It runs the gamut. And that really lets them roll that up into some of their long-term strategic planning. If you've now got a handle on some of the workloads at that task level and at the data point level, you can now start rolling that up and doing some better long-term and strategic planning and budgeting. And that's the beauty of being able to accumulate that data from multiple people and roll that up to these higher level dashboards. One of the other things that we're seeing is they're now using for project and program management. This has been a use case out in the enterprise world that we see over and over and help our customers develop. And they get some very robust, large global work cases, or programs. And it's very similar to what we did when we decided to go through the FedRAMP journey. You know, there was a number of things, of very different types of project aspects, working with different people inside and outside the organization to be able to get our FedRAMP program to where it is today in the announcement yesterday. And then also operations. So not just a single program or a project, but day-to-day operations, those tasks that are repetitive, where you got to solicit information, roll it together, share with people inside and outside the organization. You can eliminate the emailing of spreadsheets, and you can make this now a planned task that happens almost automatically in terms of sharing information or soliciting information. So you need to collect a lot of things from a lot of people. You know, an intake form for something, you create a web form very quickly to solicit the information you need, whether it's drop-down menus, free-form text, and you can push that to a large group of people who will receive a link and get you the information, and magically it all appears in your workspace or sheet for you to then use as you need to operate whatever you're trying to make a decision based on that information. Needless to say, organizational budgets and planning, typical use case in enterprise world, agencies are doing the same thing. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the use cases that we've seen. And one of our customers that was using Smartsheet, the commercial version, to a small degree for loads they could put on there outside of FedRAMP was the GSA. They found it very useful in terms of project and program management, and we've listed a couple there. But you know, the federal world has use cases that are very similar to what you see in the enterprise world. So they've taken the platform and quickly adopted it for those, and find that it makes them more efficient and are able to achieve more in shorter time and do it more efficiently. We exposed them to FedRAMP or to Smartsheet Gov going through the FedRAMP authorization process, and there were certain things that used to be done on or have been done to date and still are on Excel workbooks, whether it's the monthly Conmon submission or the actual JAB review. And we modeled it simultaneously in Smartsheet because that's how my team works. And then we're able to produce the artifact for them in their format, but gave them visibility into a new way to do this that is quicker, but yet can still produce the submission that they would like. So a couple more use cases. One of them was operations and asset management. This is popular across the board. Every customer that buys Smartsheet winds up figuring out some use cases along these lines. And like I said, it's very easy for any user to quickly create on the left a form, a web form, in any format with fields you want to collect. And like I said, can be configured to constrain a field to a drop-down menu, or you can leave it free-form, or people can attach documents and attachments that you want to solicit from them. And then sharing that published form with your team or outside the organization is as easy as pulling down those people from the drop-down menu. Remember, Smartsheet integrates with your access management for the organization. So just like email, when you click on to and everybody you know pops up, the same thing happens in Smartsheet. If they're outside the organization, you get their email address, then you can solicit this information. And with a click of a button, push this request via email built into the platform to ask them to provide you this information and or attachments or other data sets. As it comes back, you can track it in the dashboards and see the accumulation of it. Did everyone get you everything you asked for, so that you can send them reminders or even set those up on an automated basis, and then start to see how that data is coming together if you've set up the dashboards to start accumulating that data, giving you the information you need to be able to make a decision. So as I said, AWS on our FedRAMP journey was key when it came time for us to embark on it. Like I said, we had no choice but to build a new version of our platform, and so we simultaneously had to go through and make the decision about building on the cloud. What AWS brought to the table in terms of their authorized federal services within the GovCloud space was unmatched. So we selected AWS, we built on GovCloud, which gives us the optionality to do FedRAMP High should we choose. I'll start thinking about that once I have the signatures on our moderate ATO. But it also gave us the services we need and brought to bear the partners we need to be able to get through this process timely and quickly. We designed it with their help, to meet federal government requirements and get us through FedRAMP. And then we've also worked with them to achieve what they call the AWS government competency. So it's essentially an AWS review of what we do as a company using their products in light of those federal requirements, again, supporting us in our efforts to meet not only FedRAMP, but anything else we might chase within the government space. And then we also achieved Amazon Partner Network Advanced here. So not just FedRAMP, but looking at the bigger picture in terms of being able to expand our use cases within the government and within the AWS network. Smartsheet Gov is available through Carahsoft. We've been a partner with Carahsoft for a number of years with our commercial product, and now Smartsheet Gov is going to be offered via Carahsoft for agencies that are looking to deploy. It will be available on GSA Schedule 70. So with our announcement yesterday, Smartsheet Gov and Smartsheet Commercial are both available through Carahsoft. Now, if there's anybody here who wants to get a free trial of Smartsheet Gov, the FedRAMP product, we can do that. For agencies, organizations that want to try it out, we are offering a 60-day free trial for up to 10 users, which is essentially a small enterprise plan. You get the full feature set. You get to see and work in this platform on this trial basis and make a buying decision. So you can run real workflows, create some projects, whatever it is you want to see how Smartsheet will serve you, and be able to do that in that environment to make a buying decision. There's several of us going to be here at the conference. You can talk to us, or you can go to the URL link that's going to be in the deck here. Again, that's for the Smartsheet Gov free trial. And with that, we've got about 10 minutes left, and we'd be glad to open it up to any questions. None at all? Any questions? Yes?
What were some of the challenges that you had developing the Gov product?
So the question was, what were some of the challenges we faced? I think the time was our biggest constraint. Our leadership wanted to get this to market. Our customers wanted it. And when we were going through and deciding that we had to build a new version of Smartsheet somewhere and take that through FedRAMP authorization, you get the compliance aspects that come with that, and that is building all the security tools and techniques to monitor that new environment, which needed to be built simultaneously. And that's where the AWS partners that were brought to bear really helped us get through that on a simultaneous track. Because the teams had their hands full with that, and then the audit side of this is fairly robust at all. So my team probably doesn't want to see another auditor for a little while. Not that they're bad guys, but they spent a lot of time getting through this authorization process. Good question, though. Any other questions? Did I see any other hands? All right, well, if there's, yes?
Can you go into some more detail about why moderate versus high?
The question was, can we go into detail on moderate versus high for FedRAMP? This was Smartsheet's first foray into the government space in a formal way. And FedRAMP, Trey talked about as a big mysterious mountain, and you've got options, FedRAMP high, FedRAMP moderate, and then you've got DoD and all these other federal certifications. But we wanted to go into a way where we would be able to provide a product to a fairly large constituency that's looking. And we saw that there was high demand for moderate. There is demand for high, but since it was our first foray, we elected to go in at moderate. Now, we did build on AWS GovCloud, which is FedRAMP high, so that we've got the optionality to go through the audit and move up to high on the Smartsheet Gov. But this initial authorization, we elected to go through at moderate. So, good question. Anybody else? Yes?
Yeah, I've talked to a few organizations working towards ATO who stated that the documentation process is the hardest part of it. Can you speak to this experience?
Yeah, so that's a fair question. The documentation for FedRAMP. Documentation for FedRAMP is big. So it is based on NIST, but this documentation of your controls has to be done in FedRAMP templates. So your summary and your description of all those NIST controls for your product, they call it an SSP, System Security Plan, and it is their template. Ours is just shy of 400 pages, and that's just one of the documents that has to be created. But those are all the controls that have to be tested by the auditors to get you through FedRAMP authorization. And then the monthly submissions are a separate FedRAMP form, and there's an acronym for each. So being able to navigate those and understand what they are, having a good partner help you do that is key. But getting through authorization, a large aspect of it is documentation. And then going forward, you've got the monthly security monitoring and the update and maintenance of that documentation set. So very good question. And you'll learn a ton of acronyms for all these documents. But I will say the FedRAMP website is a complete and comprehensive source of all these documents, how they work, and what they're used for. I will give them that. That was a lot of work to put that together, but everything is there. You can get lost there for years. Any other questions? In the back?
I compare the FedRAMP high and moderate templates, and I don't see any differences from the technical control. The majority of the differences is in Simulate, what comes from Simulate, documentation, physical, environmental, things like that. So after you look at the those technical controls,
Yes, the question was about the difference in controls between moderate and high, and you're correct. The entire program is based on NIST, and there is a control set, a delta, a number of controls that you have to tackle if you want to go high for moderate. So should we decide to move up to high, we would take that control set, and I think FedRAMP even has a template prepared with those particular controls, should you choose to move from moderate to high or from low to moderate, so that you can quickly undertake those controls, the documentation, and the audits associated from your third-party auditor to get you through that. So if we choose to do that, that's exactly what we would do. And those controls are called out, fairly succinctly in some of those documents that you can pull on the FedRAMP workspace as well. Did I see another one? All right, well, if there's no more questions, I want to thank you for your time, and if there's any questions about Smartsheet Gov, there's a number of the Smartsheet team in the room and at the conference for the duration. Thank you.